Hello, hello, beautiful people.
How you feeling?
Good, how are you guys?
Good, chilling. in the place to be.
Some music, Waiting to see if a few more folks join us tonight. Beautiful couple. Yeah.
I love your tapestry, by the way.
Oh, thank you. This is the first time I'm using it for the summit, and it's funny because it's very symmetrical.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you. I try not to get too obsessed about, how centered I am in the in the tapestry. So I actually thought we'd start today with some breathing and grounding, just for a few minutes, because I know that's what I need to kind of settle for my day and just arrive here. So I thought we could just do a couple of minutes of sitting and breathing together.
Yeah, let's do it. We had to do a little bit before we came on, but yeah.
Sure. Whew. So wherever you are, if you find a comfortable spot, if you're sitting or you can lie down, and if you're in a situation where you can't close the eyes, you certainly don't have to. But if you can, go ahead and close your eyes. And start by noticing your breath. Just feeling this particular breath. Not trying to rush toward the next breath. Allowing yourself to really be with the breath. Physically noticing if there's any places of tension that you can simply release on the exhale. We tend to hold a lot of kind of mini tension all around the body. And sometimes all it takes is a little bit of a tension And on an exhale, we can let that tension go. So if you're feeling any tension in the neck or in the shoulders, just kind of breathe into it and feel it release as you exhale. Take your time. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Welcome. Welcome everyone to our evening presentation, day 3 of the 2019 Sacred Sex, Sacred Family Virtual Summit. I'm Margarita Manuelian. I'm Margarita Macarena Manuelian. And it's crazy that just 6 months ago, this was an idea of mine, and now it's totally real, and it feels absolutely amazing. And yeah, manifesting is real. You really can do it. There are tools. There are people who know the ways. And that's part of the reason why I am so excited to welcome Aquila and Neptune to the summit. I've been kind of low-key stalking these guys ever since we got connected on Facebook, but they just seem to be doing so much, like just so many cool things. I'm like, how do they have the time? And they have a bunch of kids too. How does that work? And they look fucking hot. I'm sorry, I had to say it. They're both really hot. I'm sorry, it's true. And when they post pictures of their food, I'm just like, how do I get some of that food? So I am so thrilled that you two are joining us for the summit. And I wanted to just ask you to, first of all, kind of introduce yourselves and let us know how you came to this path of spirituality and sacred sensuality and sacred sex and family.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Go ahead. She's a butterfly. All I did was just fly. You got
so funny. Peace, everybody. Peace, love, and light. Like the beautiful Margarita said, I am Aquila, and I have been on my spiritual path since I was 19 years old. I will be turning 30 next month. Ooh, you know, in human years. And yeah, my upbringing actually really set the foundation for my spiritual journey, because my mother said something to me that I have yet to forget, that I always remember as a teenager. I had asked her a question. I don't remember the exact question I asked her, but it had something to do with like why certain people were in certain religious sects, and why she chose the path that she was on. You know, like what was spirituality, what was religion, like who's God and all this kind of stuff. And she said to me that when I was old enough, I would decide what my spiritual path would be. It will come to me when it's time. And I'm so grateful that she said that to me, because that's exactly how it happened. You know, of course, as a child, I had like these different revelations, these different dreams, intuitions, things that happened that were, you know, setting me along the path all along, that I had to really kind of like look back and see. But really, when I turned 19, I made some really drastic changes about myself. You know, changing my diet, hanging out with nature a lot, sitting with trees, hugging trees, redefining my sexuality as it relates to removing trauma, you know, and redefining what sex meant to me as it relates to societal pressures. And doing those different cleansings and purifications is what really helped to set me on this path. And it just, once I started removing certain things, a lot of things started to open up. And that's all that enlightenment is, like, just this unfoldment within yourself, this blossoming from within, that starts to come out into the surface. So that's kind of the beginnings, my beginnings on this path.
Oh my God, there's a quote right there. Enlightenment is a blossoming. I just love that. That feels so true to me.
So Margarita, I just want to say thank you again, because this platform is beautiful.
Yes,
and I can feel all of the kinetic energy and the energy built up behind this. You know what I'm saying? So
yes,
kudos to you, because that's not even a form of flattery or anything like that, but to be able to have a platform where you bring energy together, it's precious. It's precious. It really is precious. And so for that, definitely wanted to say thank you before we get off into whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. I receive it. I receive it, family.
Oh, yes. So with that said, for me, I have just a couple of definitive moments that shifted my consciousness. But one of those was, so when I was like 15, 16, I used to just run in the streets a lot with my friends and whatnot. So anyways, got into a little bit of trouble. I'm just giving you the backstory. Got into a little bit of trouble, and I ended up being on house arrest come 16 years old. So I'm in the house, 16 years old. I'm a man in my mind, you know what I'm saying? With all this energy in the house, I'm like, dang, it's nothing to do except my father, who had died when I was 5. He had a library in the basement. So I used to go down to the basement and just, look at the different books that he had. Not because I enjoyed reading, but just that, I guess, having a limited amount of space and time to, you know what I'm saying, like that, just kind of geared my mind towards curiosity. So I started looking at some of the book titles, and one of the 2 book titles that stuck out to me was Extrasensory Perception, and another book called Philosophy for Every Man. And so when I cracked open the first book, Extrasensory Perception, it was talking about how to cultivate your psychic energy and your psychic fire and be able to expand your aura and play with energy in your aura and stuff like that. So nothing really stuck except the fact that we have this system of energy in us and we can expand. You know what I'm saying? And then the second book was Philosophy for Every Man. It got interesting when they started getting into Gnosticism and the Kabbalah, and also Sufi thought. So upon reading some of those, it kind of broadened my scope of what the nature of reality was, because I was coming from that Christian paradigm. Like, I was never like a hardcore Christian or anything like that. But I had questions and I was slightly curious, you know what I'm saying? So the beauty of it is that I was able to really, for the first time on my own behalf, get an understanding of various world philosophies and their understanding of the spiritual system. And so that basically shattered all paradigms I had in my mind about what I thought was God, and by extension, what I thought I am, you know what I'm saying, innately as a child of God. So that kind of jump started my brain. And then fast forward into college, I had met up with a group of conscious dudes from Philly and New Jersey, who are part of the 5% Nation. And I don't know if you're familiar with the teachings or however that goes, but basically it's a system of self-knowledge where you use a lot of numerology, and basically you kind of just, you give every word that you see and every number that you come across a meaning. So it's just a geometry, you know what I'm saying? It's just like the Kabbalah and stuff like that. So that kind of opened my brain up. But the third experience that actually opened me up was upon getting one book. The name of this book is called The Secret Science by John Baines. The Secret Science by John Baines. And I think after the very first week of reading that, the strangest thing happened to me. I ended up falling asleep on the couch, and like during the middle of the night, I woke up inside of my dream. And when I woke up, I saw my body just there, just chilling. And I felt my energy like hovering above my body. But I also felt this pumping of fluid in my brain. And so if you could imagine, it kind of felt like just clenching your muscles together. Like it felt like it was pumping for the first time in the back of my brain. And I can really remember what that felt like, because now I'm like, all right, and now I know what it is after studying and stuff like that. But that was the first time that my kundalini actually rose and hit my brain, and I felt it, and I knew that it was a biological fact. It wasn't just it's not just the saying, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times people think when you say spiritual stuff, it's just in the air. It's actually direct knowledge, direct experience. So that kind of woke me up, you know, that definitely woke me up. And at that point, that was one of those things where, you know, everybody on this call, when you get to a certain point, there's no turning back. You know what I'm saying? So that's essentially what happened. And that led me on my quest. Thus, I am here with manifested heaven on earth in this reality.
Yeah, how did you two get together, if you don't mind me asking?
So you know, I was a little Mac on the campus and shit. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just joking.
I bet.
I was. Oh, go ahead. You got it. Cause you look like you.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just laughing.
Cause she said when I tell people about how we met, for some strange reason, it's not the same how she describes it. So in my mind, it's completely different than what actually occurred and went down. So go ahead and
first couple in history, I think.
Well, we first met on campus at what's called a DC house, where we went to school. There's a lot of different houses where people come from or what things they resonate to, you know what I'm saying? So he was part of the DC house, which is students that come from DC or DC metro area. And they were like playing a lot of music, playing cards and stuff like that. And I went there with my frat sister because I'm in a music fraternity for women. And so she brought me there, and that's when I first met him. And then we didn't meet again. So in his mind, he was like, you know, macking me, but I didn't tap into that at that time. I was in my whole flowy, like not even paying that too much attention, you know. But then we met up again through a mutual friend, and we all were like spending a lot of time with one another. You know, I guess you could kind of say we had our own communal hippie life, that we were all just getting up together and having meeting of the minds and talking and exchanging information and knowledge. And we both were with two different people at the time. And those relationships were like basically coming to an end, you know. And as we left those relationships and continued on with our friendship amongst the group, we started to like really, we just really started to vibe to one another on a level that we just was kind of undeniable, you know, and inevitable. And we understood each other spiritually. It was the first relationship that I have had, you know, where it was like, you get me on a deep level, like on a soul level, like this is something, you know what I mean? So that's how we got together, because we just would talk for hours and hours about spiritual experiences and changing our lives and transformation and healing.
And sex. Don't forget. We also talked about sex. A lot. So no, I'm just joking. I'm just messing with y'all.
You know, but
come on.
Yeah, that was shared as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, There's
Oh,
a connection.
I'm so curious. And was like family something that you both were open to or interested in? Like, was that like for both of you, was that kind of like you knew that you were heading toward like being a family, like wanting a family?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for us, which I think is important because a lot of people may come from this situation, is, I had our eldest child from a previous relationship. And so when him and I got together, she was about a year and a half, and that relationship had already been, dissolving while I was pregnant. So it had been a while. We tried, it didn't work. Tried, it didn't work. Of course, because you become attached to this idea of family, and so you try to make things work that are not meant to still be working. And so when we got together and our eldest child was a year and a half, we already had a family because him coming to me in a relationship knew that meant we're family now, you know what I mean? And that that I came as a package. I came with not just me, but to my daughter. And so his commitment was not just to me, it was also to her. And he had always wanted to have a big family. I mean, y'all, he'd be trying to tell me we're going to have 8 children.
You're young enough. You could do it. You could do it.
She's gonna learn, Margarita.
So we talked about all of that, from the very beginning, that we were very family oriented and, wanted to bring forth, some loving beings into this planet together, bring forth love, joy, child, So yeah, it's been a part of our discussion since the very beginning. And like I was saying earlier, like a lot of the discussions that we had earlier on in our relationship, sometimes people wait way too long to talk about, and I have found myself doing the exact same thing in previous relationships. And so we were both at a point in our life where we were like, this is what I be doing, and this is what I don't be doing, and this is what I like, and this is what I don't like, and this is what I want, and this is what I need, you know what I mean? And so we were like letting things know like ahead of time. So waiting to find out if the woman you're with wants to have children or not months and months down the line is not the best idea, So just waiting to find out whether the man you want to be with wants to have children is not a great idea as well, because then you set yourself up for your illusions to be shattered, and then you feel hurt, and then you have to deal with that pain. So I'm grateful that we spent a lot of that time talking and establishing that we do want to have a family. It was important to both of us.
True building.
Yeah, I so feel you on that, because I think for me, that's how I ended up meeting my husband, when I really got clear that I want to have a family. And that's something that's like that's not something I could negotiate. That's just like, I know this is going to happen for me. And I had just gone through so many men who were like really wishy-washy on it. It's like, family. And so when I met my husband, and he immediately was like, I want a family. Like, he knew. And that was so attractive.
Right.
I just wanted to read the title for your presentation because I'm so excited about it. Our chat, not presentation. Creating and maintaining conscious intimacy within family. That just sounds so juicy to me.
I love your energy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited for this conversation. But talk to me about, like, what is conscious intimacy? What are we even talking about here?
Mm-hmm. Conscious intimacy is basically being in the present moment and being personable with the people in your life. Giving your full undivided attention. So intimacy, goes beyond just having sex. We're going to get into that as well. But it's just being present with your loved ones, not being on your phone and talking to them, not reading a book and, oh yeah, okay, and your children are trying to tell you to look at them and you're just doing something else. It's like being fully present and being aware that you are present and putting your intention behind being right there in the moment with your loved ones. That means so much to people. When people give you their undivided attention, that means everything to them. You know what I'm saying? Because time is so valuable. And the quality of that time even makes it embellishes that moment. You know what I'm saying? So when we're talking about conscious intimacy, it's being present, being personable, being there, and giving your full self.
Yeah. And just like Queen said, it's definitely about maintaining that presence within all your relationships. So in this way, intimacy takes on a new meaning because it's not just on a romantic relationship and what have you. It transcends into platonic relationships because really what's occurring is you're practicing a form of mindfulness, right? Where I like to say, and I may have heard this somewhere, but I just took it as my own now. But intimacy, and I made a poem off of it. But intimacy basically is enter my sea. Some are not equipped to take that voyage with you. They may fall asleep at the wheel. But then there are others who are down to have a soul connection with you. You know what I'm saying? Family related or not related. That y'all can connect on so many different levels of y'all being that it's fulfilling. You feel me? It's almost like watering your inner garden. So intimacy is basically keeping that soul connection alive and well, and still being able to be detached from, let's say, a person's ego or a person's personality. So maintaining that higher connection to everybody. We want to walk and move and live on this world um, together as souls. You know what I'm saying? Because the people's ego or their lower nature, if you meet somebody at that ego or that lower nature, you're going up against the beast. So the beast inside of you is going to want to fight with them or not agree, or, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But we truly believe and feel and know that on a higher level, our souls actually shade into one another. You know what I'm saying? So there is a level in our being where there's straight unity consciousness. And so by saying conscious intimacy, we're saying we're going to take that path. We're going to enter each other's sea. We know that the longitude and latitude is love. We're not going to fall asleep at the wheel. We're going to maneuver these waters. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah.
That's perfect. I love that. Conscious intimacy as a way of being just really honest with yourself, first of all, right? Like really seeing into yourself, into your own needs and desires. And you mentioned earlier, like healing the traumas, like so important that we take that responsibility for our own healing. And because I think that immediately ends up playing out with partnership, whether it's like intimate relationship or with children, where whatever issues you have, whatever trauma you have in your life, like those are going to be your triggers. That's what's going to like blow your head off when your child is, not listening, and that reminds you of like your dad who never listened to you or something like that, right? So just that taking responsibility for your own feelings, right?
Yeah. That's what the work is, constantly guarding and purifying your thoughts and how you feel and what you project to other people. I had a huge revelation when, you know how when you are at a point where you see everything that needs to be done, like I guess in your spiritual life, in your inner world, but your body and your mind and emotions haven't caught up to it yet. It's almost like you're about to stop, um, you know, drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes and going to the club and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You see what you want, it's focused, but you're not there just yet. But yeah. So it's very real. That's what the spiritual work is, guarding their thoughts and feelings, so that you can be the very best. But yeah, gardening. That's what it is. It's gardening, planting seeds.
Hmm. Yeah, and how does that show up in parenting, like with children? How does that show up for you guys?
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, like, it varies for each of us because obviously we have our different triggers, but much like you were saying how your child can say something to you and you automatically think of how your father may have said something like that to you, or your father didn't listen to you. Your parents are the relationship with your parents is the primordial relationship that sets the tone for all subsequent relationships. You know what I'm saying? So to get into healing trauma and things of that nature, what happens is you unravel it, you know what I'm saying, in your mind, and you revisit those circumstances, you're gonna actually force more triggers to come. So that's a double-edged sword about this path. That's why you have to stay in the middle of it, you know what I'm saying? Because the more work you put in, the repressed matter is gonna actually come out and surface. And it actually makes you deal with it. Parenthood, you know this, Margarita, is such a meditation.
Ooh, it is.
Because everywhere you go, your children are going to show you your weak spots.
Yes.
They're going to show you the exact distance you are away from truth. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yep. So, yeah, it's real.
I say that there are gurus.
Oh yes,
right? Like our children are here to teach us those lessons. All the lessons.
All the lessons. My our eldest child, she is very like, and she's still young, so it's like she doesn't even recognize that she's even doing it per se. But she'll tell you in a heartbeat when you said you were going to do something and you did not do it. You know what I mean? So she's just that energy that reminds you to help to be accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Saying it in like a disrespectful way, or you know what I mean? And it's like when you start to recognize yourself and see that other beings can teach you things regardless of their age, regardless of their, their gender, their sex, it doesn't matter. Everybody can come here to teach you something. So when you look at your children in that respect, you stop thinking so much about what they're saying as being disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And actually try to listen and hear what they're saying. So that goes back into being consciously intimate with them. You know what I'm saying? Giving them actual time and respect to speak and express themselves, so when she's saying like, Mom, you said you were going to do this and that did not happen. I'm like, dang, like, she's watching, and I need to be on it. I need to hold myself accountable. I need to, be my word. And also just, realizing that certain things took place in the day and not beat up on myself too much. Yeah. But understand that, when I say things, that my children have expectations of me just as I have expectations of them, and I mean, it also, those lines get blurred because we don't want to have too much expectations that we start,
Yeah, it's a fine borderline between that, because exactly. that's something in my perspective, especially as being a man, like, we have the whole disciplinarian energy like that.
I was just going to ask about that because this is what me and my husband are constantly at odds about, because I'm all like, oh, we got to let the children like be themselves and explore. And he's like, no, they need discipline. They need boundaries.
Well, it's funny because the way our perspective is geared, it's like it is all of those things. You know what I'm saying? But what is the quality and the level of discipline? Right. Is it drastic, violent, aggressive? Because you can still discipline. And some people would even say, let's not even say the word discipline. Let's just say conscious redirection or conscious reorientation into what we want to let them know. What values are we trying to instill? So for me, it comes up because my mom, because, after, like I was saying, after my father died, she had to take on that role because I had a brother too. So she was naturally walking through the house. I'm a man and a woman, you know what I'm saying? I gotta take care of y'all and do everything, you know what I'm saying? Da, 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 da. So she was real with it, you know what I'm saying? But she had like a disciplinarian energy as well. But I think that to be honest, it's a natural impulse to want to protect and provide. And in order to protect, you need to set certain boundaries. The harmfulness of it is that when you encroach your own boundaries onto the little children, the little people, you know what I'm saying, being violent and saying angry words or raising your voice and, you know what I'm saying, cussing and things like that. All of that, or hitting them. You see, I didn't even say that. Damn, yeah, but that's it right there. Like, or hitting them. And that's really something that needs to be addressed. It's the violence and aggressive nature of popular culture is the reason why society looks like how it is today. So it's either, are you going to compromise what you grew up with in terms of your parents disciplining you, you know what I'm saying, or are you going to adopt new methods? Because those are obsolete, you know what I'm saying? At a time when our parents was coming up, like even in different societies or different cultures,
Yeah, that was just the way.
I was the way.
Yeah.
But now, if you say that, it's like you saying, you know, if you say you don't hit your children and that's not how you doing it, you might catch some backlash. But particularly from the planetary male consciousness, because what I've noticed is that obviously more women have that nurturing nature about them. So it's not like y'all are gonna be the one off first impulse to spank your children. It's not going to happen like that. And I'm going to say that the energy of the feminine energy of nurturing and compassion, when say the children do something less than desirable, I've had conflicts with that even within our relationship on a personal note. Like, all right, like something needs to be done or said about us setting up expectation or a goal for the children to fulfill and then falling short of, you know what I'm saying? It can't just be no form. Everything in nature has a form. So that's when you get the masculine element, which is the careful gardener, you know what I'm saying, of the garden. And I think the beauty of it is setting boundaries early enough so your children, they know the boundaries so that they don't hurt themselves. So that later on they can learn that there are no boundaries. You know what I'm saying? It's basically based off of value system that the parents build in. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, when it comes to that, I think it's important to maintain discipline. And when I say discipline, I'm not talking about popping your children or spanking them or stuff like that. I'm talking about y'all aren't gonna watch Roblox or, you know what I'm saying, Paw Patrol or something like that.
Yeah.
But the way Key does it is beautiful, because the system that we have now that we're currently using, because we use all different types of things, is that they have to obviously get their chart together with their star system or whatever when they do good or they maintain the order of the house, you know, and listen to us. They get their stars when they're on point. And they work hard to get their stars because it's a value system. Our value system does not hurt their value. It does not change the way they value themselves. It does not change the image that they have. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important. But yeah, as far as the discipline and things of that nature, it really, really, really needs to change, because we have to look at what happens to our child's psychology when you come at them and violate their being in an aggressive or violent manner. You know what I'm saying? Basically, there's a spirit of an age, and that spirit of an age with all of that has left. We're literally watching the birth of new crystal children, indigo children, star seeds, basically the ones with the code. So we need to deal with them differently. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and something that I had to learn is to apologize. Like when I mess up, when I speak aggressively, yell, when I'm acting out of my, you know, guilt, shame, or whatever, I have to just get down to their level and apologize right away.
Exactly.
And just accept responsibility. Like, mommy did something that I'm not proud of, and I want to apologize. And I want to let you know that that wasn't the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not perfect.
Exactly.
And I just wanted to read, we have a question, a couple of questions in the chat. These are some great questions from Eugenia. So what are some gardening tools, and what's the practice to get your life aligned with your goals and values?
Well, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to say no because I was chewing grapes. I thought Key was gonna jump out there, but she didn't.
Oh, because you were talking about the gardening ceremony.
I know, right? Yeah, absolutely. We was just making a video about this a little bit earlier, and we were talking about how, just in terms of simplifying it, because obviously this stuff can get really deep, especially when we're talking about healing trauma, so that we can even heal our relationships to our children and basically society. We use the example of working with the 4 elements, and in that we defined the earth as your physical body, your resources, your diet, and basically your discipline with your physical body, in those facets. And so we outline different ways that you can bring your body under control, because we recognize the body as having, on a small scale, it obviously has a life of its own. So in turn, us being the self within, we need to discipline it and domesticate our animal, right? So that we can use it to serve the self. You know, we came here in these bodies and we enjoy the pure static bliss of the body, but we also have to discipline ourselves as well so that we can reach higher levels. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question, what are some gardening tools? The way that you can garden the earth of your body is through adopting high vibrational nutrition, because genetics and nutrition have a key role together with everything that gets expressed or passed down to your children as well. Deals with your nutrition. You know what I'm saying? Your nutrition can also affect how you feel on the inside, and how you feel on the inside is going to radiate on the outside. So one of the ways to do that is by purification. You know what I'm saying? The best practices that's going to expand your being are always going to be about some level of purification and detox. It's not going to be about adding knowledge, new techniques and stuff like that. Really, it's all about subtraction and getting back to the source, becoming naked. You know what I'm saying? And one of the ways that we free up the energy in the body is by going on herbal detoxes and adopting a raw vegan diet. You know what I'm saying? And then various models of that, even like raw till 4 and things like that. So that's one way that you can get your physical body under wraps. You want to expand, jump on that, Boo?
I could just keep adding so that we not get, because we will be talking about it all day.
I know, right? I know.
So, you know, just some other things that you can do to help align yourself with your goals and values is first tapping into what is your soul's purpose. Once you find the energy behind what's your soul's purpose, you can find what outlets are going to help you to get that. So for example, my energy really resonates with like communication, creativity, and healing. And so I've found, so like one of the things that I do is music therapy, which music therapy is using music to address non-musical goals in a therapeutic way. So we help individuals or groups address psychological, behavioral, cognitive, social, physiological needs through music. And so in that aspect, my soul is being fulfilled because I'm using creativity, which is music. I'm healing because I'm using counseling skills and sociology skills that I've learned along the way to help other people meet their goals. And in turn, I'm getting an exchange from them because I'm learning through their healing process as well. And then, and communicating. speaking, having that exchange with that person is also helping me to fulfill that purpose. So right there, I'm in line with my goals and values because I found what my purpose is, and I found the outlet that's going to allow me to fulfill it. So that's the most important thing that we can do to help, get your life aligned with your goals and values, is getting in touch with your purpose, and then finding out how you can utilize what you can do to bring forth your purpose to its fullest potential, in the most concise way that I can put it. Yes.
I'm just curious, do you guys do like formal meditation practice? Like, and do you, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. Within the practice of music therapy, I do that. Like, we'll have groups. Like, I've even like done like workshops with patients who've had cancer, and we've done like guided meditation. People who work in healthcare who are like highly stressed, I've done guided meditation with music with them. So I've done it on that level. We've done it where we have people come over the house and we're doing guided meditations. We've done it virtually online, where we're doing guided meditation, just because it's great for all of us to get together and do things, just to remind, that gentle reminder that we are not alone, that we're all here working together, and that's how the universe works. It's a collection of many things coming together, creating this beautiful work of art. And so, and they're not necessarily formal, as it's like, that it's not so free flowing, basically.
Have you tried it with the kids?
Yes, we've done meditation with the children, but we also are mindful not to be forceful with it. They have their own varying degrees of how much they want to do and how much they don't want to do. Sometimes they'll sit there and be still and, breathe and realize that it does help them, to be calm and relax. And other times they're like, okay, I'm ready to go outside now, and we respect that, what I'm saying? Respect their journey, respect how much time they're willing to give to it,
And at what age do you think you could like start?
I mean, we've been doing it to Siri's the eldest, and she's 7. We've been doing it since she was like 2, 3.
Wow.
Just sit down and, averages breathe, and when we say we're not forcing it, like in certain religions, like you take your child to Bible study every Wednesday, you take your child to Sunday school, you take them to church to worship, and then you got this on Tuesday at the church and stuff like that. So it's like, I get that because it implements a routine,
Sure.
but we also want them to do it authentically. So we're not like every single day you need to be meditating that way, and then they start to have this disdain towards meditating, and I say that because I've seen lots of children that have grown up in religious homes that have a disdain or have this fear if they don't do this, they're going to disappoint their parents, or they're going to go to hell, or the people at church are going to be talking about them, or you know what I mean? And they just have so much inner conflict and restriction. And maybe because my mom raised me the way that she did is also why I'm not like trying to force it. So if it's not every day and it's every few days, that's fine. They love doing yoga. That's what they love to do. So, and then we found this really great thing called Cosmic Kids Yoga.
Yes, it's so cute.
It's so cute because she's like basically turned yoga into like this cartoon adventure.
Yeah, like story time.
Story time, exactly. And they're really getting in their yoga postures and stuff. She really tapped into some real creativity there.
I teach kids yoga, so it's close to my heart.
Yeah, that's yeah. So things like that, and yoga is a form of meditation.
Yes.
So there's so many different ways that they can tap into that meditative state of mind.
What about for adults, like for someone who is, a parent and they're feeling like they're just like really stressed out, and they're starting to realize that they're taking it out on their kids, like what would you say, what would you recommend to someone like that?
In a meditation session, or just like,
Yeah, like as a yeah, like I guess like as far as meditation is concerned, like would you recommend that they start meditating regularly, or would you recommend that they, I don't know, go to a retreat, or like what do you think is the best way to, I guess, like weave mindfulness into your life? What are your thoughts on that?
so I think so as far as meditation is concerned, and I'll make a distinction between, I guess, breathing practices and meditation. As far as meditation is concerned, I feel like it's can be partially dangerous for somebody depending on the amount of work they need to resolve, the amount of trauma that they need to resolve. You know what I'm saying? Because meditation on certain levels is building a bridge to a source of eternal light. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is that you can contact a certain aspect of this light, but that light is going to go into stimulating all spheres of your being into activity. And so you got some monsters in certain parts of your being, and it's gonna basically stir up that subtle layer of consciousness. So
Yes, thank you. I feel like not enough meditation instructors give that warning, and then
yeah.
people are surprised by it and totally turned off of meditation.
Yep. It's real. A lot of people say I've tried meditation, I've done yoga, because they've manipulated a little bit of energy. It's a situation spontaneously occurred in the physical because they summoned it, you know what I'm saying, by releasing or whatever, and they weren't equipped to deal with it. But yeah, but as far as meditation is concerned, I guess it really just depends on, where they're at, you know what I'm saying, based upon what you can perceive.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of breathing practices and stuff like that, what you did when you opened up the video, like that's along the lines of what we would do, you know what I'm saying, or what, you know what I'm saying, what Key would do, what I would do in our practice. I do massage as well, you know what I'm saying, so, and energy work. So we start with that, noticing the stress in your body, you know what I'm saying, and sequentially breaking it down, releasing the tension, starting with your face, letting it melt, you know what I'm saying. So I would start with just the relaxation techniques and show them how to really relax and feel the bliss of their own body in about 10 to 15 minutes. And it's instantaneous, you know what I'm saying? And it's so simple. Like, yeah, just take it back to the example of what you did when you first started. Because immediately as you were talking, I was like, oh, bet, yes, yes. You want to do some breathing and relaxation? Like, that's all. That's exactly what I needed. You know what I'm saying? And the beauty of it is that it's not even complex, because just breathing a certain amount of breaths per minute tap in and allow you to access that theta wave state consciousness where you are in deep relaxation in a moment's notice. It happens in under a minute. So people who don't know about it and they are living the typical American lifestyle, office work, highly stressed, sad diet and stuff like that, we just start with the relaxation of your body, you know what I'm saying? And then we get in a little bit into the breathing practices, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so, yeah. Baby.
I think you hit it right on point.
Okay.
You know, I feel I'm always the first person that's going to say, you got to deal with your drama. Like, whatever it is, most of the time you're lashing out on people because there's some unresolved trauma happening within you that you don't want to face. And so you're projecting it out on your children, you're projecting it out on your partner. You know, that's what's the word for it? Like deflecting or projecting and stuff like that. And so if you don't deal with what's going on within, it's just going to keep happening. So you use breathing meditation to help you to calm yourself down enough to be able to be in a space to deal with your trauma. And so that's what's so important to me. It's like you can read every spiritual book possible and have all of these tools, but if you don't start applying it to your life, if you don't start peeling back the layers, it means nothing. you know? And so you won't have this relationship that you want to have with your children until you deal with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately for your children, they're gonna have to wait for you to get it together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not even a joke, but it's the truth. You know, it's the truth. It's the truth. Which is why we should be more mindful about when we're going to have children, because we want to be in a space, not that we have to be perfect, because none of us are going to be perfect when we have children, because they're going to bring up a whole new set of lessons and challenges and obstacles that we're going to need to overcome, but that we are more aware of ourselves so that we can do humanly beautiful things, like what you said earlier, like apologize when when we come incorrect, you know, implement new things, you know. So like I was saying about the star system that we have, I did that because I was getting really stressed out that they were not cleaning up after themselves. And I'm like, what can, and because I like a house, my woman has to be clean, you know what I'm saying? And they're messy children, and I mean, their children are going to be messy. But I want, huh?
They're so
What'd you
messy.
say?
Children.
I know it.
Yep.
I'm like, oh,
So much anxiety. So much.
Right. And
How
so,
does it work? I'm so curious. Is it like do you do it like per day or per week? Like how does it actually?
it's a sheet that I have, and it has 25 squares. And so if they do certain things, they get a sticker in their square. And if they get all 25 squares by the weekend, then they can get their tablets and watch TV. So we already had implemented no tablets or TV until the weekend.
Yeah.
And now they have to work for it by building up their, star board. And that's been helpful for me because now I'm not like having inner breakdowns. I'm not I'm not stressing myself out, about you need to clean this up and get this up and why you guys are not, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, now I'm realizing that now I'm stressed, and then I'm taking the stress out on them because they're not doing what I want them to do. So putting that star system in helped me not to have so much expectations, because now they have to work for what they want, which is what we do as an adult. So that's teaching them too. We have to do things that we need to do in order to do things that we want. And so if I want to teach them this discipline and have this structure with them, I have to give them something to work for, and not just let it just be out. Okay, every weekend you get tablet, whether or not you did your work when you were told, and whether or not you cleaned your room, you know what I mean? So that's been great for them because one, they love stickers. Children love stickers. Right. And it gets them excited because they have different words in them. Oh, you did great, super sweet, nice, cool. You know what I mean? And they got all these different ways that they can get stickers. So like you read a book, or you read a book to your brother, you did your schoolwork, you cleaned your room, you cleaned off the table, you helped your brother do this. Like there's many different things that they can get a sticker for. And so they're working for it. They like dancing because they got their stickers. They're like, oh, only 2 more, I get my tablet. So it's been working, and I feel a lot less stressed, and I'm not upset with them, about something that they don't really care to do at this age. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I had to find a fun way for them to want to do these things. And that's been so helpful.
I love it. Everyone here loves it. All the comments are like, I'm going to try that star system. Eugenia says, love the starboard idea. Giving your kids a clear path to success is so clutch. Yes. Nicole says, I love that idea, Queen. And Eugenia says, make it easy and gratifying for them to do the right thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I did also want to talk about maintaining conscious intimacy with your partner while raising your family. I know we kind of at 10, we still got a little bit of time.
Yes, please go for it.
Okay. I think this is important because I think studies show that a lot
Right. Start right with that.
studies show that a lot of families fall apart after, a lot of couples fall apart after they have children. And it's because children take a lot of time, and especially us as mothers, our role in the beginning is so consuming at times, because we got, especially if you're breastfeeding, you're nursing, you're doing the diapers, they want to be up under you, you got to baby wear them, all these beautiful things that you have to do, and you become so wrapped up being a mom, and you got to cook and you're cleaning. I mean, of course, the man, your husband is going to be doing the same thing too, but it's in a different respect when you're a woman. You guys who are women, you understand what I'm saying. So you have such a huge role, and so you start neglecting other things. Sometimes that becomes your partner.
Yeah.
And then, if your partner is working outside of the home, he's consumed with work, he's consumed with the stress of having to bring home the money if he's the breadwinner, or whomever is the breadwinner. This can get flipped. This is not, just on whatever kind of basic gender roles. It's just whatever you guys got going on in your life can keep you away from putting in that time and energy into the relationship. And children is one of them. And because children are gifts, we don't want to look at them as the burden that ruin the relationship. So we had to be mindful and conscious of maintaining that intimacy with one another, and so we were just talking earlier, because we were like, what's some of the things that we're going to, bring up in the conversation? And he was mentioning, like, well, we don't really go on dates. We don't.
Say that. I was like, oh, do you guys do like a date night? That was never. I was never able to make that work.
Right, and we do not like really go on dates. One, because we're here where we don't have any family here. We have friend families, but we don't have like, my mom or our moms or sister. We don't have that immediate family here. So we don't have anybody to watch them. And because we have 3 children, it's a lot for anybody to watch 3 children. You know what I mean? And so we've had to find innovative ways to spend time with one another,
Yeah, how do you get them to leave you alone?
Right. So like, for example, like today, like when we were doing our live video, or anytime we do live videos, most times we'll try to wait till the youngest one is taking a nap. And of course, if he's home, because right now at this moment in time, he works outside the home. I do most of my work inside the home. So even if he's just coming home for like a break, we're like, okay, Naz is about to go take a nap. Let's do a video together. And so remember I said, like, the foundation of our relationship is spiritual. So when we're doing live videos and we're talking about spiritual, exchanges and communication, like that's intimate for us. You know what I'm saying? Because we love building on that. And so that builds that energy between us. And we're like bouncing off of each other, looking at each other, like, yeah, boo, yeah, I love what you're saying. Like, it resonates with me so much, So we're like, that's intimate. That's part of intimacy with us. So it's not, we're not going on a date, but we're doing things that we love to do with one another at that moment in time. So that to us is our date, And so our eldest 2 children, they're old enough to go in their room and, play. And so that gives us that, hour of time. They're old enough to, play with themselves for an hour. And they don't have no problems, or sometimes we'll do the videos outside. And so they're outside playing. So you might see them like running in the background, you know what I mean? And so other things that we like to do is like throughout the day, we see each other, we give each other meaningful hugs, heart to heart hugs. We'll put our our third eye on each other. You know, we'll kiss each other's third eye, or we'll just hold each other's hands, or we're like playing, you know. I'm just saying all these things, like, you know, being really open and vulnerable, because there's so many different ways that you can connect with your partner. It doesn't have to look like everybody else's. It doesn't have to be colored like what society thinks that intimate relationships should be. Your partner doesn't have to buy you a bear, or, you know, take you to the most fanciest restaurant and buy you diamonds. Like, all of those things, they're nice, but that's not what's going to keep a relationship moving and flowing and growing. It's actually like spending time with one another, engaging with one another, even if it's just for a few minutes, you know, looking at each other in the eyes. You know, we do like soul gazing, where we'll just sit and just look at each other in the eyes. And that's a meditation as well. So instead of meditating by yourself, you can meditate with your partner, where you guys are just literally in lotus position, like your legs crossed, and just looking at each other, you know, or just breathing in sync with one another. And sometimes when we're like doing our own thing, he's like on the computer and I might be watching my show, you know, but we're both on the couch and you'll like see our legs like just rubbing together, you know, or a hand just comes over, you know, and it's just those little moments in time, you know, that are important, you know, and it's like we're consciously doing that. And then, you know, having sacred sex with one another is important as well. And so when you're having sex, you don't want to get into this space of like, well, let me just get my orgasm and be done, you know, or, oh, I got to wake up too early in the morning, so I don't have time for this. You know, we've never been in this space where it's like, oh, we got to wake up early and it's like no time to, it's like once we're in it, we're not scheduling it. We're not like, oh, we'll have sex on Saturday. No, it's like most of the time, 9.5 times out of 10, I know when we're going to have sex that night, just based off how central the energy was throughout the day.
Like the build up.
Yes, the build up. The build up is important. So, you know, and then when we are in this space where we're like enjoying each other, we're now consciously thinking about one another and being like fully in that space with one another, and utilizing, you know, foreplay, which whatever. It just, I mean, I don't understand you don't have foreplay anyway. You know, it's just like you gotta build it up, communicating with the body. You know what I'm saying? It's so important, and not being so focused on the final. And because then it becomes that you're using your partner as like a garbage disposal, you know, to just let go of all your stress onto them, not caring that they have stress that themselves. So it's supposed to be coming together to diffuse the stress together, you know, consciously. We're doing this to build up our energy. We're doing this to create an even stronger bond within us. We're doing this to send healing and loving light to our children, you know, and then it starts to become, we're doing this to send healing light to the planet. You know what I mean? It gets even deeper and deeper because you're consciously having sacred sex, because the energy of sex is what created the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything is sex. Everything is merging together to create something else. So when you start looking at sex on a deeper level, you start having sex with your partner on this deeper level. You know, you care about whether or not they are, you know, feeling I gotta get it. You care whether or not they're in it, they're feeling it, and they're enjoying it. You know, you see a lot of stories where, you know, there's particularly women. I'm sure there's men out there, but I've seen it maybe because I'm a woman that I've come across it more, of women talking about, you know, they've never had an orgasm before, or that, you know, their husband will have sex with them and roll over and it's over and they're still sitting there waiting, you know, or wondering or crying to themselves because they feel disconnected you know? And so it's so important to have that conscious intimacy during sex, being completely present,
Yeah.
knowing what your partner likes, what they love, what they don't like, and implementing that, and being open and vulnerable to communicate those things too. And even whatever, traumas you may have, because a lot of times people have had sexual traumas that deter them from having like a true sacred sexual moment. And even dealing with that as well. We've talked about, sexual traumas that I've had to overcome, that I mostly overcame before we got together, but was able to fully apply that wisdom being with him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like a safe haven. I could just be all of myself with him and all the aspects of myself that there is. And so I could just be free, you know what I mean? Sexually, and enjoy myself sexually, and not look at myself as like a taboo, like a woman shouldn't be sexual. That's whorish or whatever kind of crazy labels that we get. You know what I mean? You should be able to feel yourself and enjoy your sensuality and tap into it fully, because that's what's going to create that deep bond between you and your partner. And so so just to wrap that up, there's just so many ways that you can find to connect with your partner, and it does not have to be colored like everybody else's. So always hold that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think this was such an important piece to this conversation, is just caring about that intimacy, that connection, and cultivating it and maintaining it. And it's a practice. It's a day-to-day practice. It's not something that you do and then it's just done. It's like, oh, we're good. No. We have to start anew over and over, and in a way that's kind of an allegory to the spiritual process as well. We're never done. I don't believe that we're ever like in this body I'll ever be like, oh, now I'm enlightened or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like now there's no more work to do.
That's when you die.
That's when you really die.
That's when you die. It's always room for improvement and refinement, always room to learn. There's so much to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one person is a huge meditation, I think there's a saying in I think it's is it Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous? But they have a saying in there, that one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And I feel like that's some key wisdom right there, because it's like to, enter the sea of one person is tremendous, because you have your own inner world that you may not have charted certain territories and, landmass and stuff like that. But to share your life with another person, to have children, and y'all share your life, you know what I'm saying? It is directly a meditation and unity, and that's something that I get from parenthood, and also parenthood and sex, because what happens is you end up annihilating yourself. You merge into something greater than you. You know what I'm saying? You merge, you annihilate into the unity consciousness. You feel me? And I think that was a point too. I probably forgot, but I was gonna say earlier about parenthood aspect of this, is that when you are a parent, you are a servant. You feel me? So you almost have to get rid of yourself to a certain extent. You feel me?
Yeah.
And then that right there is half the battle is won, because
it's so tough for the ego.
Exactly. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we all need self-care and time and solitude and stuff like that. Mommy got to charge up too, Papa got to charge up too. But a large part of that is just going with the flow and making that sacrifice, moving as a family as opposed to just moving as being mother who doesn't get XYZ, you know what I'm saying? Or the father who doesn't get XYZ. Yeah, moving as your family and moving as a unit, you feel me? It's definitely some deep understanding in there, you know? Because it's like when you blend consciousness with your partner, y'all are one. Androgynous in every sense of the word. You know what I'm saying? Androgynous in every sense of the word. But yeah, the conscious intimacy is everything, you know, and sacred sex is that's one thing, you know what I'm saying? But on the physical level, but sex, you already know, is happening in all different type of ways. We could be sitting down right now and just maintaining silence, sharing silence,
space.
Yeah, sharing space. So on a deeper level, like getting to know your partner, you begin to see like what are simple spiritual pleasures. It's so many enjoyable energies that are even subtler, you know what I'm saying, than even just food that's tasty for your mouth or like sex, you know what I'm saying? So many vast enjoyable energies. Yeah, so yeah, I was getting lost in the energy.
I love it.
I was getting lost.
I know we're running a little bit short on time, but I just want to invite all the folks who are here. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you feel called to speak, you could just press the unmute button and talk to us. We would love to hear from you, and we'll just give a little bit of time to see if anyone is feeling called to speak up. I actually have a question that I would love to ask you too. Something that has come up starting, I think, yesterday during the summit. The practice of open relating or polyamory, and whether that is something that can be a part of sacred sex, or if it's something that is outside of the arena of sacred sex. So I just kind of wanted to put that question out there to you as teachers, and as leaders. What are your thoughts
on that? Okay, I'll go ahead. I'll go first. So every ship is a ship. So the purpose of that ship is to arrive at God realization or self-realization. So a person can be completely good, well, okay, and being their highest self. It's slightly hard for me to talk on that because just on the basis of our dynamic, because we have a monogamous relationship. But I think that poly is fine. All the forms of your relationship that you want to set up are fine as long as there's that spiritual understanding that each one of these relationships is a time period where you are supposed to access the divine. Every ship is supposed to arrive at the dock or at the haven, which is heaven, the port of God realization. You know what I'm saying? If you are on a ship and it has no destination, then you are lost. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that that can definitely be cultivated amongst people. And in the future, however many X amount of years, I wouldn't be surprised, because it's already happening now, for people to form intentional communities, and sex is a part of the healing that's actually occurring. And on so many levels, it's actually a beautiful work. Um, I do think that there's a danger with that, and it's no bigger than the danger that lurks when two people get into a relationship and they haven't dealt with their issues, they haven't cleaned their bowl. That's the only issue, that I could see with it. But everything has a plus and everything has a negative. It's really based upon your intent and what are you trying to do this for, because it's a tool. You know what I'm saying? It's a creative tool, and you want to make sure that you are, as a man and a woman on this earth, you want to make sure that we are conscious co-creators. Because every time you have sex, even on a physical level, you're creating something, whether that be a thought form energy that's going to go on to nourish you guys. Because every thought that you think is a child, and by law and nature, every child has to come and feed from its parent. You know what I'm saying? So, just behooves us to be mindful of our conscious relationships to everybody. So with that, a vast amount of power and energy will be unlocked on this planet, a vast amount of awakening and healing. We're playing with the energy that created the universe, living fire. You know what I'm saying? And with that, I definitely feel like there's much danger also associated with spiritual fire, physical fire. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always an advocate for the wise and intelligent use of our life force elements. And honestly, because I'm about evolution, I want us to access that in all the ways possible. And that is definitely a way possible. So I'm in support of it, as long as there are morals in place and you have a value system that can be jacked into our spiritual conscious compass. You know what I'm saying?
He spoke on everything that I would say too. This is something we talk about a lot. Just not a lot, but I've tapped into the understanding that there's all types of that nature shows us all different types of relationships, and so we should not um dispel any of them. If you look into the animal kingdom, you see polyandry, polygyny, polyamory, monogamy. All of them exist. Even in the history of human civilization, all of those relationships have exist as well. So I'm in agreement with, as long as it's functioning for you, everybody is in agreement. Everybody is wanting to see themselves, deal with themselves, and evolve themselves. It's going to work, If you are in a polyamorous relationship where your relationship is only based on the foundation of low vibratory sex, then of course it's going to become toxic. Just like a monogamous relationship, if all the basis of the foundation of your relationship is only about sex, then it will be dysfunctional. It'll be toxic. So any of those relationships can be utilized to help you conscious to elevate your consciousness, and it can also be used to destroy you. you know so I think that, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. That was a beautiful answer. I would love to ask you guys, how do we keep in touch with you? How do we find out what you're up to? How do we stay in contact? Where you at?
We're in the Atlanta area. Well, we just moved here a few months ago, so we're gonna start having some more things out here once we get our feet really into the soil. But until then, you can find us on Facebook, Gila McQueen, Nelson Naga L. We're also on YouTube as the Mystics of the Sacred Heart. And we are also on Instagram. I am the Mystical Alchemist. And I usually just use that platform for just like motherhood and natural living. And then we also have a Vegan's Paradise on IG, which is where we share all of our raw and cooked vegan foods. Mm-hmm. And you guys can hit us up on any one of those platforms in the DMs or whatever. We will respond.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much. This has been a super enlightening conversation. And I just want to say thank you for doing this and really bringing your full presence to this. I know that that vulnerability, that opening of your heart is part of the path, but it's hard to do. So I want to say thank you, and I want you to know that your words here are a blessing and a healing balm for many, for those who are on live and for those who are going to watch on the replay. This is our way of sending out some healing energy into the world. I truly believe that.
Good, thanks.
Well, we're grateful for you. So grateful. Thank you for creating this space. It's amazing. It's empowering. We are inspired. You are a beautiful being. And we want to thank everybody else for sharing your time with us tonight. We really appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I already said thank you in the beginning, but thank you at the end, because this is it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful energy.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I just want to read a couple of the comments from the chat here. Maya says, thank you so much. Such an amazing couple. And Alchemia Grace says, it was awesome. So with that, have a great night.
You
too.
Peace. Peace.
Goodbye night.